Hey everybody, welcome back to Bullet Sponge Brews. I am Wilson and I got a treat for you. Like I've been alluding for the past couple weeks, I have a very special mead planned. Today, we are going to be doing a blueberry pomegranate mead. I'm super excited to get this out of the way. This is actually the very first mead that I came up with or thought of when I initially started thinking about doing meads. I wanted to knock the traditional one out of the way, so we've already got that one going. As you guys have been seeing, now it's time to move on to the fun and creative stuff. What I have here, in this pot right here, I have 2 pounds of blueberries that I have heated up over the stove to kind of break those down, release some of those juices, tear down the cell walls a little bit so the yeast can get in there and extract more of that sugar and hopefully get more of the flavor in there.
And as you can see here, what I'm doing right now is I'm heating these frozen blueberries up. I'm going to be mashing them. It's going to help extract some of the juices, make it a little bit easier for the yeast to get in there to get all those sugars out.
2 very boring minutes later.
And as you can see, this is what they look like after just a few minutes on the stove. All those juices are starting to release, starting to get goopy. We'll be able to add this to our mead as soon as it cools down.
End of flashback.
On top of that, I have 2 jars of 100% pomegranate juice. It's just great value. I picked it up at Walmart. But the only ingredient in this, well, there's actually 2 ingredients. There's water and organic pomegranate juice concentrate. That's all we want. There's no preservatives, no additives, no nothing. So we're going to be adding that to that. Then, right here, I've got some malic acid. I've got some yeast energizer to give the yeast some nutrients so they can be really happy in this environment. As you can see, everything here is sanitized. Once again, I do want to harp on that. Make sure everything is clean. That's what we're doing here. Oh, I've also got wine tannins to kind of add a little bit more mouthfeel. And the yeast that we're using today is Lalvin EC1118. From the research that I've done, this is an absolute powerhouse of a yeast. This stuff is good up to like 18% ABV. And if you treat it right, it can go even higher than that. Do I need 18%? Absolutely not.
Do I need 18%? Absolutely not.
In the business, we call this foreshadowing.
But this yeast will just chug away, and do all the work for us. Now, my thoughts with this mead is I'm wanting probably a sweet mead with this. So we're going to end up letting it ferment, let it do its thing, and then afterwards, once it's done, if we're not quite where we want to be, if it goes dry where the yeast eat all of the sugars, we're going to go ahead and stabilize it, and then we're going to go and back sweeten it on the other end with more honey. I'm really looking forward to this. I hope that you guys are looking forward to this. So let's go ahead and get started. Once again, everything has been sanitized. That's why my jar was upside down. I wanted to make sure that all of the sanitizer and everything was already out of there. Now, the sanitizer that I use is a no-rinse sanitizer, so I don't have to rinse it off. I don't have to dry it off. It's good to go. I just don't want an eighth of an inch of sanitizer in the bottom. I feel like that might mess with the flavor profile. The honey that I have today is Honey Yards honey from Brazilian Fields. I just saw this at the store, looked interesting. I looked at the ingredients. The only ingredients is honey. So I picked it up. And we're going to be adding 3 pounds of this to it. It's sealed. So we're just going to go ahead and dump that right in there. Go ahead and just hold that there. We will let it drain out. And then I'll be back as soon as this is finished. All right, y'all. So we got all of our honey in there. I did go back and I did add some hot water to this to kind of break it up, loosen it up so we could get as much honey in there as possible. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and add the blueberries. Hopefully, make a mess. These are cool. We don't want to add them too hot. Well, we can add them hot, but we still have to let them cool down. But we don't want to add the yeast until it is, and I'm making a mess. Great. Oh, well. We don't want to add the yeast to it while it's too hot, because anything over 120 degrees will kill our yeast. And obviously, we don't want to do that. We're trying to make mead, so make sure it's cool. So this is cool to the touch. I'm going to go ahead and dry off my hand a little bit. Houston, we have a problem. There we go. Pop the top on that. I'm going to go ahead and just, well, there's 64 ounces. Now, with your fermenters, you do not want, absolutely do not want to fill to the top. What's going to happen is, as this thing ends up fermenting, it's going to start pushing this stuff to the top, and we don't want it to get trapped in our airlock. If it gets trapped in our airlock, it's going to blow it out. It's going to make a mess everywhere. So I am going to, first and foremost, try to get some of these blueberries back in there. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I am going to actually mix this up real quick, try and get some of that honey off the bottom. I don't want to try and mix it when it's all the way at the top, because then I'm going to make a mess. But I want to get this as homogeneous as possible before I add the last little bit of pomegranate juice. So,
Spicy meat. Yeah, boy.
go ahead and just mixy. This part takes a while. I got blueberries all over this towel, which is one of the reasons why I put the towel down. That way, I can just pick this thing up and throw it in the washer. Ain't got to worry about it after that. I am also going to go get a rag, and I'm going to clean off the sides, because that's just asking for troubles later on in the ferment. I don't want to just have raw blueberries not in this, just sticking to the outside. And in this blue cup over here, I don't know how well you can see it, I have my yeast rehydrating. They've been in there for a little while now. You don't necessarily have to rehydrate the yeast, but by us attempting to rehydrate it right now, it allows us to see if the yeast is actually still alive. If you just dump it in there, you wouldn't know if the yeast was alive or not until well into when it should be fermenting. You'd look and like, oh no, it's not fermenting. So by doing it this way, it allows us to see if the yeast are alive. If the yeast aren't alive, just add more yeast. Got blueberries all over this whisk. Probably should have used like a rubber spatula or something. But my first thought was, hey, gotta mix it up. Let's do a whisk. I won't make that mistake again. And I know you guys can't smell this, but just from me mixing this up, it smells absolutely amazing. Go ahead and shake off all of these blueberries, or at least try to. Come on, get down. All right, there we go. Now, I'm going to go ahead and add my yeast now. This way I'll have an idea on, this way I don't overfill it with the pomegranate juice later. If I add too much pomegranate juice, then attempt to add the yeast, it might be too high, and that's absolutely what we don't want. So I'm going to go ahead and just add our yeast in there. And because there's still some yeast in here, I'm going to go ahead and get some of this must. Uh-oh. There's blueberries all over, so the juice is sucking up blueberries into it. So, and we're just going to go ahead and pour that in there. All right. And our final thing of pomegranate juice. We're definitely not going to add this entire thing. And I'm going to say, right there is good. Now, for those of you that don't know, a mead that is made with fruit is actually called a melomel. Do I know why? Absolutely not. Just what I read online. So this is a blueberry pomegranate melomel. We're going to I'm going to go ahead and add just a quarter teaspoon of malic acid. With all this fruit in here, it actually should be plenty acidic, but I just want to make sure that we've got that mouthfeel. I'm going to add, if I can get it open, a half a teaspoon of wine tannins. Once again, the wine tannins is mostly for mouthfeel. And last but not least, I am going to add 1 teaspoon of yeast nutrients. Now, we're really wanting to create as good and happy and stable of an environment in this as possible, which is why I'm adding the yeast nutrients. What this is going to do is actually going to increase the amount of nitrogen in there. And yeast like nitrogen. So hopefully it's going to make them work a little bit harder. I don't know if it's necessarily going to make them work a little faster, but it's going to make it so the yeast are less stressed. Now, one of the things that you get if you have a stressed yeast is they're called fusels. Fusels are a different chain of alcohol. They're still alcohol. They'll still get you intoxicated. But fusels are, when you drink a cheap liquor or a cheap beer, that kind of kerosene or that really harsh alcohol bite on the end of it, those are fusels. We don't want those in this. We want it to be nice and smooth. We want it to be happy. And so that's why we're adding the yeast nutrients. We're hoping to not quite stress the yeast out as much, hopefully have a pretty solid ferment. So once again, I'm going to go in here, just make sure everything's still mixed up again. Mix up the rest of that juice that we added in there. Make sure the yeast are in there, the wine tannins, the acid, and those yeast nutrients. So give me just a couple minutes, and I will be back. Come on, get off there. All right, everybody, and I'm back. We got it fully mixed up. I went ahead, got a rag, cleaned up the outer edge, make sure everything's clean. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a gravity reading. Once again, we take a specific gravity reading at the beginning and a specific gravity at the end, and it'll tell us our ABV, our alcohol by volume. So, I'm going to grab our graduated cylinder, our hydrometer. Once again, very careful. Put that in there. Now, I have to get past this fruit cap. Looks like we did it. And I'm going to go ahead and fill this up. I really hope this keeps that color because that is amazing. All right. And we are currently sitting at, once again, want to spin it just a little bit to try to get all of the extra oxygen bubbles off of there. And we are at 1.152. Holy crap. Now, if you guys remember, our traditional mead that we did was actually only a 1.104. This is actually 48 gravity points higher. Now, it's because we did add blueberries. Those have sugar in them. We did add pomegranate juice in there. That has sugar in it. But this thing is potentially going to be quite potent. If you guys will give me just a minute, I'm going to do the math on that real quick, and we'll figure out what, if this runs dry, our ABV will be. So give me just 1 second. I'll be right back.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
All right, y'all, we did the math, and the math is quite surprising. So the final gravity of 1.152, if this were to go all the way dry, which is when the yeast consume all the sugar in it, and gives us a 1.000 reading or lower, this mead would be 20.5%. Now, the yeast that we're using, the EC1118, can go up to 18%. Now, if you push it, you can go 20, maybe 21, but you really have to baby it. You really have to take care of it. I don't think that it's going to go all the way. So this thing is more than likely going to finish very sweet. We might have to dilute it just to kind of balance out the sugars and the alcohol levels, but we'll see when we get there. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Like I said, this is the first mead that I thought of when I initially decided I want to start making meads. And so I was super excited to start this one. I love blueberry pomegranate juice. And I'm like, you know what? Let's go ahead and give it a little bit of an alcoholic kick. Thank you guys so much for coming and watching. We're going to go ahead and let this thing do its thing. I'll give you updates here and there. We'll check on it for the first week, degas, kind of do everything. Check the nutrient levels. If the ferment isn't going as planned, we can add some nutrients. We might be able to add a little bit of oxygen, but for the most part, I want to leave this alone. Next week, I'm going to be starting probably the one mead that I'm most excited to start. This one, I was really excited to start. This one, I'm even more so because of just what it is. I don't want to ruin it, but we're going to be using a commercially available beverage instead of water to make this mead. With that mead, what I'm hoping for is a relatively low ABV, 6-7% ABV mead that would be a phenomenal summertime drink on a hot day. Something that I can sit back, enjoy a couple glasses of, and not absolutely get toasted. Something that I can just sit back and enjoy it. Thanks for coming out to watch this video, guys. I'm super excited to have this, and I'm super excited to have you guys here. In case you didn't know, I've also got a TikTok. If you're not following me on TikTok, go ahead and throw me a follow over there. I do highlights of my meads on my TikTok, but I also do some funny little videos and stuff like that. I would appreciate it if you guys gave me a follow on there. On this video, go ahead and leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Whatever you guys want, you'd really be helping the channel. If you like something about this video in particular, leave a comment. Tell me what you liked about it. If you didn't like something about this video, let me know too. I try to get through there, and I try to read every message, and if I can, I'll respond to it. If you guys want to see different things in the future, or if you guys have a specific type of mead you want me to try, let me know. I'd be happy to put it on the list. Also, I'm currently talking with Corey from Ammo Can Actual to maybe do a collaboration. Hopefully we're going to be able to get that worked out. Hopefully we can get him on here, and hopefully we can get me over there and shoot some guns and then make some mead. We'll see. Once again, I want to thank you guys for coming out. I really appreciate it. You guys have a great day. We'll see you in the next one. Have a good night.